Hey, welcome back to the Stebbins Garage YouTube channel. I know it's been a while. I've been working slowly on the LS. Here I've already gotten a lot of work done. We're gonna get this thing cleaned up today. We're gonna paint the block. We're gonna start assembling it and put everything back in it. I hope you'll stick around. All right, up next, we're gonna move on to the heads. My workbench is a mess, sorry about that. We're going to lap the valves. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take this valve and we're going to seat it right here where this is called die chem. It's just a spray-on coating, and you slide the valve in there, you spin it with this valve grinding compound, and what we're trying to do is we want these to seal properly, so we're going to spin them around slowly with that. It's essentially like a toothpastey kind of stuff, and it will wear both of these in so that they seat properly. And we're going to do that to all 8 valves on each head, so we're going to have to do this a total of 16 times. Have this tool. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. And I need to lubricate the stem really well where it goes into the head. That way we don't want to wear out those valve guides, because then we're gonna have to change that out and that'd be a pain. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some compound on here, and let's see what I can do with it. There is the results of the first 2. Essentially we just want a line showing there that shows that they're uniformly seated. We don't need to do anything crazy. We just want them to seal. So I'm gonna move on down the line. I'll time lapse it. You can watch it. And just like that, we've got all 8 of these done. You can see there's a nice uniform ring around each of them. The valves are marked. I probably could have just done 1, 2, 3, 4 because the intake and exhaust valves are different sizes, but I didn't. So I got to do this for the other head, but you get the idea. That's what's involved in lapping the valves. It's not really complicated. I ended up switching to using my drill on low speed because that tool that I got wouldn't really spin those valves. Not a big deal. The other thing, make sure that you're using oil on the stems of the valve. That way you're not wearing out the valve guides. Otherwise, it's pretty simple. We'll have to clean these up. Probably just pressure wash them off, get the rest of the residue. I'll take something and clean off the head surface, and that should be it. We'll be ready to bolt these back on once the cam's in. So here I have ICT Billet's low mount alternator kit. This is to fit Camaro or LS1 style alternator on our 5.3 iron block. And so this is going to require us to tap a hole in the block. They sell a template. I purchased it. I've already actually used it. It goes between here, like here, and the head, which is not on the car, but I've already center punched where we need to drill. So I need to drill this out, and then we're going to tap that to accept the bolt from the kit. And I figured I'd pop out here and start on that, see if we can make some progress. So I was trying to figure out how deep we needed to make the hole. This is the bracket that will be going on. It'll essentially go over here. You use this bolt with a spacer, so we don't have to make that very deep at all. I've got it way deeper than it needs to be, which is fine. We'll go ahead and tap that bolt hole in here in the block, and we'll be good. All right, I have marked the drill bit about the depth that we want to go. We're going to, this is the 11/32, which is about what size we need the hole to be before we tap it. put some tap cutting fluid on here. We're just going to run this through. All right, we're through. We're not through. We're at the end. Just to give you an idea on how this setup will look, this is the hole that we're drilling. I've actually drilled it already and we're tapping it. On the iron block, there's not another boss here for this third bolt. Everybody that runs it says it's fine with just the 2. So that's what we're going to go with. Put this on just to get an idea how deep the threads need to be. And they don't really need to be that deep at all. So essentially what we're going to do now is just run a tap through those holes, put some threads on there, and then the alternator will be able to bolt on. Once I've got that done, we'll be able to start putting our cam in, pulling all this junk off so that we can get to the cam and swapping all the internals. I've got an oil pump, a timing set, a cam, push rods, lifters, pretty much everything to get this in tip-top shape. But I wanted to go ahead and get that hole done before we did that, so that's why we're doing it now. All right, this is our M10 by 1.5. And that's what we're supposed to be putting in here, so let's get going. Go ahead and run a bolt in here just to make sure we got it good. Would you look at that? I kind of knew what I was doing. Okay, finally, there is one more bracket in case you were worried. There is another bracket that goes right here. And this bolts in like this into that hole. So there's what ICT Billet's alternator bracket looks like on my 5.3. Now that we've tapped that hole, got the rear bracket. There's 3 points of bracing. As I said, there's not a point there for this bracket to go. There is an idler pulley that goes there. So that'll give us plenty of belt engagement and whatnot. So that is, I'm gonna call that good. Everything fits nicely. So thumbs up for ICT Billet. They make some really good stuff. Here's the completed install. We have our rear bracket. There's still plenty of room to access the alternator plug. There is lugs on the back, obviously, for the alternator. We still have 3 points where the alternator's mounted, so that should be completely solid, even if we don't have this 4th point. Would be nice, but that's not going anywhere. Got our idler pulley on there. This is a brand new GM AC Delco alternator. So we can mark that off of our list. Okay, next I'm working on the valve covers from the 5.3 LS. If you work on LSs, you recognize the valve cover from an LS. These have a lot of grime and sludge dried up, caked up in here. We need to get that off so that when we put it on the motor and it's all the stuff is new, we want to get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is spray this. I'm going to use some a brake parts cleaner and some steel wool and some a couple different types of brushes, and we should be able to get that cleaned up. I think it's finally time to get these heads ready to go back on my LS. They still look a little crusty. I got some aluminum brightener. We're gonna try and clean up some of the engine parts before I start assembling. Let's get outside and do that. So I'm planning to paint these valve covers, so I really just wanted to get all the grime off of them. I think it did a good job. It's still drying, but it looks nice to me. Okay, so here's one of my heads. I just pulled off the valve stem seals. I'm gonna try and get all this crud out of here and get the aluminum looking good. And they were ported, the exhausts were ported, so we're gonna clean that all up too. Okay, I've got both heads cleaned up. Most of the gunk is out of there. I got all the gasket surfaces cleaned. So we're ready to go ahead and start reassembling those so that I can get the engine back together. So I've been cleaning up the side of this block and the rest of it, getting it ready to paint. We still have to clean this part here up and then flip it over and do the other side. We're just gonna go with some gloss black. You can see there's a little bit of rust still in here, so we're gonna need to continue working on that with a Scotch-Brite or whatever to get that out. And then we're gonna go ahead and paint it. Alright, so I'm currently just cleaning all the mating surfaces for the gaskets that'll go on here. I still need to put the cam in it and a bunch of other stuff, but what we're trying to do is get the block painted. Hopefully today, if not today, tomorrow. It's just going to be gloss black, and so I need to get all this stuff cleaned off. That way we don't have any contaminants. And once we do that, then the new cam will go in, the new gear for the oil pump. I've got a LS1 fbody style oil pan with the pickup tube and the windage tray and all that stuff. So we're going to do that after we get it painted. We'll get it all, start buttoning it back up basically. I think that'll go okay. I've just got to get all this cleaned up first. And yeah, it's a little crusty inside. I think it'll be fine. We're going to run synthetic oil in this. It should clean up after we get some good oil in it and let it, we'll change the oil pretty soon after we get it running. So that's the plan for now. Okay, I think I've got the engine block cleaned up enough. First coat of paint is on. I think it looks really good. I'm gonna go ahead and let that dry for a little bit and then we'll put another coat on. Man, that was a lot of work, but I'm glad I did it, and I think the black will look really good. All right, so while we wait for the engine to dry, I have these parts and I'm gonna do them in Alumablast. It's a Seymour Paints product. It should make them look pretty much just like natural aluminum. I tried cleaning them up with some aluminum brightener and it didn't work. So we're gonna give that a try. I think that's gonna look really good. We're gonna let that dry a little bit, and then I have some clear. All right, so we're using duplicolor engine enamel with ceramic. On the left is the gloss black, and on the right is the clear. You can get that at pretty much Amazon or any O'Reilly or AutoZone. And I mean, that looks absolutely wonderful. Well, I think as long as you clean the block and get it all degreased, paint should stick really well. I'm super happy. This has been a long project. Here is the other parts. We did one coat of Alumablast from Seymour on these. I'll link that as well. I got it off Amazon. It's like $17 a can, but that looks really, really good. It looks just like aluminum, and it got rid of any of the tarnishing or whatever that I couldn't get out. So next up, I'm gonna go ahead and spray these valve covers to match. I got some duplicolor. This is Geom Bright Red. It'll be the same exact color as what we have in the engine bay. I'll wipe the valve covers off with some paper towels and some glass cleaner, but it left some residue. So we're gonna use a tack cloth and just get that cleaned up. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video here. In the next episode, I'm gonna be reassembling the LS with all of our painted parts. We've got a bunch of brand new stuff to go in it, including the cam. If you made it this far, thank you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot of good content on the 92. It's coming up. Got a bunch of parts sitting over here ready to go in, and I hope to have it running pretty soon. So I hope you'll stick around and watch me do that. See you on the next one.